to the Paranormal Pride. This is Denise Pridemore. We're talking to Mike Ricksecker from Haunted Road Media, the Haunted Road Media and Haunted Road Media Paracon. And we are going to go back and we're going to ask Rhodey's question that she had about Ouija boards. Let me make sure that I ask the whole question because it was actually a two-parter, so I don't want to do half the question. So let me scroll back up here and get it. I love it when the chat room wants to move faster than me. Well, this one is better than other chat rooms. It doesn't move without you moving it sometimes. So once I get it to where I want it, it stays, which is nice. But here we go. Getting closer. Can Mike tell us any history of Ouija boards? And she says, I know it's a tool and not a location, but curious.
Oh, that's fine. That's a good question. I mean, Elijah Bond is the one that's credited with the Ouija board, the old talking boards from the late 1800s, 90, 91, something like that. What's kind of cool is if you go to his gravestone, there's actually a Ouija board on the back of his headstone. But that's where it came about, was in the middle of the spiritualism movement. Now it was inspired. They say it was inspired by some different devices that were used in ancient China and things like that. And it's any of these more modern devices like that, of course, were inspired from the ancients. All these things are handed down over time. We just find a new way to be able to use something or manipulate something or create another methodology to be able to use it. So, the Ouija boards are, I guess, 120 years old, something like that, or almost 130 years old, as far as the way that we know them today. What's kind of interesting about that, even though they came about in the big swing of the spiritualism movement of that time, is that they became marketed as a game. Was it Parker Brothers that picked it up and started marketing it as a game? It's a parlor game, so you invite people over for cocktails or what have you, and this is something that you do, and that's, in my opinion, that's something that led to a lot of misuse of the Ouija board, because it's there in the game aisle in the kids section, that kids would get it and take it home, start playing around with it, not being serious about it, and kind of goofing around, and unbeknownst to them, they start communicating with a spirit, and it might not be a friendly spirit. It might be because the kids are generally trying to fool each other into messages that are being put on the board. Who likes me, or who should I go to the date the dance with, or what have you, stuff like that. And you got a legitimate spirit. It's like, hey, you're calling out to me. You're talking about all this other garbage. I'm here, and I think that's where some of the trouble comes into play. There's, so they don't know how to use it correctly. I do know of people that use Ouija boards as a tool, know how to use them properly, and that works for them. So.
And we have another question from Kat Gash. She asks, since the goldenrod was destroyed, do you think the spirits that were there will continue to haunt the area, or will they move on? That
is an excellent question. And I have not been back to the site since then. I think it still really hurts Shauna. Because there's a couple times we've gone across the river and we just haven't gone to the site. If Tom McNicholas is in the chat, he drove by there and didn't realize that's what it was, just a few months ago. But as far as the spirits, I'd love to know. We've put it out there. There's a couple different possibilities. They could still be haunting the site. The hole is still there. Over a year later, the hole is still there because everything was halted as far as the salvaging, because there's still an ongoing investigation, which doesn't seem to be going anywhere, but there's still technically investigation going on. So they could be there. They could have found some family. to go be with. They could have crossed over and passed on. They could be in some of the more local to that area buildings or homes. They could have even gone back to St. Louis, where the goldenrod was for so many years. So it's really hard to know. We need to get out there and see and try to figure that out.
It's kind of hard to say.
It really is, yeah.
I mean, with their home being gone, if they're residual spirits, they may still be there because they don't know their home is gone. If they were intelligent spirits, they may be with their stuff. Because I know that the people were at the Mineral Springs Paracon, Haunted Road Media Paracon last year with the artifacts from the goldenrod. Maybe they're with that stuff with them.
Yeah, and that's always a possibility. So, yeah, I mean, those are being stored. There's eventually going to be some sort of museum put together. So you're right. They could be with that stuff, too, which they will be back for the Paracon, by the way.
So we have a question from Dawn in the Spreaker chat. She says, have you ever had contact, like an EVP or video evidence of someone you knew in life that passed away?
Yeah, I believe the EVP that I got, I've talked about this on our channel a few different times, where I got an EVP, don't stay here anymore, and I just put it on the video of life-changing paranormal experiences, part 2. And that was one where I think it was my grandfather, actually. But my kids thought I had brought something home because the ceiling fan light would come on periodically just on its own. And for a while, I just thought it was a malfunction of the remote where you press the button and turn it on. Sometimes it would turn off. They thought I brought something home. I was like, no, I haven't brought anything home. And I was, really sure that I hadn't brought anything home from an investigation. So one day, my youngest son and I are getting ready to head out. We were the only two home. We were about to go to a movie. We had about 5 minutes to leave, and all of a sudden the light popped on, and I was like, all right, that's it, fine. If this really is, somebody trying to communicate with me, you have to impress me more than that. You got to do better than that. And all of a sudden the light started blinking. Like, okay, I'm impressed. I'm impressed now. So this is the only time I've ever done an EVP session at home. I don't believe in doing this stuff at home, but this is the one time I did.
I agree.
So, yeah. So I got out an audio recorder and I set it down. I was like, okay, so if there's something that you want to tell me, please go ahead and tell me. And so I got an EVP that said, don't stay here anymore. And it was, like I said, I believe it was my grandfather. Kind of sounded like his voice. It's kind of faint on there. Kind of sounded like his voice. He had just passed away a year and a half beforehand. And he had done a fair share of visiting different relatives until my grandmother passed away, and then they went on together. So I was pretty sure it was him.
Okay, and then Cassie So Sassy on YouTube, everyone, she wants to add on to that question. Do you ever purposely seek to contact someone that you know that's passed on?
I mean, I don't usually do that. They may contact me. I know my uncle's come and visit me a few different times. And I always know because it's his aftershave. He's the only one that I ever knew that wore that stuff. It's certainly not mine. And it's like, okay, hey, Uncle Paul's here. Hey, how you doing, Uncle Paul? Want to sit down, chat?
Must be that awful brute.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's very strong, very pungent, very old school. Yeah. The only time recently that we've done that, actually, we haven't really talked about it, was Shauna's friend Rita. And Rita used to investigate and all that stuff. So, and we did get some interaction there. And we haven't really talked about that. And if Shauna wants to share any more about that, then I'll let her. But that's really the only time, anytime recently, that we've tried to do that.
Well, that it's all interesting to. I love hearing everyone else's stories of incidents that they share. Tim Sean asks, "Is it true that Haunted Road Roast helps you hunt ghosts?"
I'm drinking it right now. Haunted Road Roast. It helps you hunt ghosts.
It helps keep you awake so you can do it, right?
Absolutely.
You got to come up with a tea because I don't drink coffee.
I don't know if Deadly Grounds does a tea. I'll have to look into that though. 'Cause, I've had people ask if we're going to do chocolate and things like that, and so
well, now see, I do drink hot chocolate. I'm just not a coffee drinker. Never have been, and I don't even get. I like the smell. So does Ron. We both like the smell of coffee, but it's like I just don't drink coffee. It doesn't do anything for me, and even. It's just one of those things. If you never liked it as a kid, I guess you're not going to like it as an adult.
Well, I think it's an acquired taste because, as a kid, I always liked the smell. I'd make some for my parents, and I'd take a sip and I'd be like, oh my gosh, what is this? But then when I was in the Air Force as a younger guy, and you're having to get up, super early like that, it's like, okay, I need a pick me up, and that's what was there. I added a ton of sugar and creamer to it back then, and over the years I weaned myself off of it to where I do drink it black now, but it took a long time. It made it really sweet to almost to the point where it didn't taste like coffee.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what my dad did. He would add so much sugar and milk to it and he would leave it on the table after it was cold when I was a kid, and I would drink his that was cold. And the only time I ever had any more was at this distillery in Louisville or Lexington called I know that sounds so much like a distillery. Not really, but that's what it's called. And they have a coffee liqueur. And they made this drink, and it tasted just like my dad's coffee. And that's the only time I've had anything that tasted like coffee as an adult was at this distillery. And they also make a bourbon barrel beer. So if you're into beer or liquor, that distillery makes the best bourbon barrel beer in the state. They perfected it, and then now everybody else makes it. So it's just really interesting. But yeah, coffee and me just never been a thing, except for when I was a kid when I would steal my dad's. Never since. So, oh yeah, Tom McNicholas is saying haunted moonshine.
No. Well, see, I do make my own wine. I do that.
We do that too, and almost every distillery in Kentucky is haunted.
Denise, from you, what I really like is your apple butter. That stuff is amazing. That was amazing.
Yeah, I know. I have people ask for it all the time now. So, in fact, I've got to make more because I gave it all to my daughter. And then we went to Vegas last 2 weeks ago. I took her every bit I had because I was supposed to make her a case and bring it out in May, and I just took her everything I had made. So, but you know what, everybody? We're coming up on the top of the hour with the NPR news break. So, you know what? We're going to be coming back for our last hour with Mike Ricksecker. So if you guys have any more questions, please feel free to get them out there. You can also in the chat room, if you're in the www.bhm-db.com chat room, if you click on my picture and you want to send me a private message with a question, that's great because that way I can see the messages a lot faster. They just pop right up in front of me. I don't have to look for them. That's good. Or you can be asking questions in the Spreaker chat. You can also private message me on Facebook, and I can ask the questions that way. Any way you want to ask a question to Mike Ricksecker, please do. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama, and we'll be back in 5 minutes.
Support for NPR and the following message come from Amazon Prime Video with Lorena, the new docuseries that shares Lorena Bobbitt's side of the story and investigates the headlines and press coverage 25 years later. Lorena, now streaming on Amazon Prime Video.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Speer. Protesters in cities around the country are demonstrating against President Trump's national emergency declaration, as House Democrats plan to challenge Trump's executive action as early as this week. NPR's Ryan Bank has the story.